Everyone have their character sheets set up.
I'm a folk hero.
I'm playing a fighter. My character, she's a bard.
I am a rogue.
I am a druid wood elf. I'm playing Zayla Silvertongue.
All right, everyone, close your eyes and take a big breath in with me and breathe out. You match the rhythm of sleep that your characters have fallen into, lying at the base of forest-covered hills where you have just finished up another misadventure together, and you gasp awake. You hear the sound of a harsh laugh and voice that says, "Come closer."
Humans are playful. Play is how we learn new rules. It's how we try out new roles. But play is something we're told to forget as we get older. Adulthood is full of problems that are not fun. And you know what else is not fun? Climate change. But what if the tools that we have as adults are insufficient to address it? What if imagination and play aren't just distractions, but solutions? My name's Charles Loy. I'm a filmmaker who began to see that the California we grew up in is disappearing. Climate change demands new solutions and new stories. My friends and I set out to find those narratives with the hope that what we learned would resonate everywhere. Maybe to solve our biggest problems, it's time we took play a little more seriously. Mycelium Youth Network takes a playful approach to preparing youth for a climate-resilient future. One of their approaches, role-playing games, or RPGs. Each player takes on a unique character with different backstories and skills. The group goes on a shared adventure led by a game master like Marcy Brown.
We'll be playing in the theater of the mind. You begin to see this redwood bark kind of start to part.
Can I take my trident out?
Yeah, you can brandish some weapons. And a person steps out of the tree right in front of you. And as this person steps out of the tree, they say,
"I represent the redwoods, and I need your help to stop a great evil that has changed the land."
"Yes, Yutari."
I would like to ask who or what entities have been cutting down the Grove people?
Strangers have been chopping us down and replacing us with eucalyptus trees. Their leader goes by the name of Frank Cravens, and he's preparing to unleash devastating fires to clear the land for profit.
Will you help me?
Yes.
I'll show you the path.
In role-playing games, players co-create their story and its outcomes. Kind of like real life, but with more magic.
The Mycelium Youth Network is kind of like built on the idea of hope and radical imagination, because a lot of times there's just like this huge sense of like doom and inevitability. And by reframing these climate change issues through gaming, we can kind of make them more approachable and also kind of like make the space for collaboration.
Dutch historian Johan Huizinga wrote about the innate, playful side of human nature, called Homo ludens. He noted that play happens in a closed space with its own rules, a sacred space. Play is one of the closest things to ritual we have left in our culture. It isn't just something we do for fun. It's how we've always made sense of the world. It's where we test ourselves, our courage, our ingenuity, and our capacity to cooperate.
Our campaigns can last 6 weeks to 20 weeks. And that's a lot of time for a character to evolve as they like fail together, they succeed together.
That's true, they're kind of designed to be team games.
Yep, and people will also like fill different roles, and so they kind of learn to kind of figure out their own unique way to solve problems. There's a role for everybody in Dungeons & Dragons, and if you can't find it, make it. I homebrew a ton of stuff. Homebrewing is like when you make your own material. And people always make characters with little pieces of themselves that they may not even realize that they're putting in.
Those little pieces of yourself, that's your contribution, your voice. We met up with Deandra Marzet Esparza, Director of Intersectional Environmentalist. IE amplifies voices that have historically been left out of environmentalism, even though they're often the ones hit hardest.
Alexia is actually one of the people that we're collaborating with right now because she works for a legacy organization in Austin, Texas.
We're trying to actually build a community solar farm in Mentopolis for East Austin. I have like all the ideas. I think it's just the time to like break it down. So here's my problem. I actually have too much data.
So here's where the strategy comes into play, and we want to follow where y'all think is best.
Yeah.
Our goal is to develop 4 assets, 3 posts, 1 reel. The point of view of the post is that there are solutions such as XYZ, but no accountability for city council members to adopt them.
Yeah, I just love this new program that you have and like how y'all are always uplifting like grassroots. And like y'all are obviously so good at like narrative and like culture and storytelling.
We're trying.
No, these are really, really important skills that I think sometimes in the grassroots we just don't have the energy to focus on, and so we then don't end up developing these skills. It's just so applicable everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because when we first started IE, we realized, well, we can be the ones that work with everyone on the ground.
Influencer and climate activist don't usually go together. Deandra had to homebrew her own role.
Before helping build and found the organization, I actually was working in fashion. What I ended up finding was kind of the inner workings of how the fashion industry serves as this really extractive industry. I started learning all these wild things about supply chain systems and how it poisons waterways and soil systems for artisanal communities all over the world. And I think it drove me to start asking more questions, and it kind of sparked my sustainability journey.
So we went on a sustainability journey with her.
I'm Deandra. It's nice to meet y'all. Thanks for letting me crash today. I'm excited to learn with y'all today.
We joined up with Mario Ordóñez Calderón, who founded an environmental education group, Un Mar de Colores.
We're going to drive out east to Cuyamaca State Park. Who's been to Cuyamaca State Park before? Yeah.
I think I know.
Have fun. Enjoy the car chat.
See y'all soon.
Access to nature, especially for kids, isn't equal. Un Mar is trying to change that.
What are some reasons we're going to want to stay on the trail?
Because you could get lost.
We do have rattlesnakes out here, so we want to be careful and stay on the trails.
Single file line.
Oh, that is a snake. It's a rattlesnake. Be careful.
Back up, back up, back up.
Right here.
Yeah. I'm going to get all my little kiddos back where Mo is, okay?
It's going to be an amazing story to tell. Just imagine, oh yeah, we were on a hike and we saw a rattlesnake. That was so cool.
This is
Okay, Arlo, come on through. Stay on my right. Cool. And then walk up to Brianna.
I'm trying to be as careful as
You guys walk to my right here, and then walk all the way up to Brianna, the park ranger. Stay together and then keep our eyes open, right? Okay, guys, this little area right here is safe to come and put your feet in if you want.
Oh my God! Wait, how do I get it? Yes, sir! It's cold. 3, 2, 1. Our thunderstorm's coming.
If you're gonna get in the water, get in now, because we probably have like 5 minutes.
Well, it's been a very eventful trip today. Rattlesnakes, thunder.
Thunder! Feel the thunder!
You got the full experience today, folks. But thank you so much for all your curiosity along the way.
For Brianna, please.
Thank you, Brianna. But play isn't just for children. It's for everyone. We met up with CalDEC, the California Donut Economics Coalition. Today, they were doing restoration work in my hometown, San Jose. One of the event leaders was Indi Rishi Singh.
Everybody who's doing the work to try to address climate change, they're all burned out. Yeah, everybody's burned out. Yeah, and so the burnout's happening because people are not having fun.
I felt so seen.
Everybody's just so like stuck, right? And so if you can't laugh and you can't play, you can't move past it. So I went to medical school, I burned out, so I went on a journey to understand well-being. And for me, it all comes down to joy. Like, can we access joy and all the neuroplasticity around joy and laughter? So we're kind of like just reimagining how do we do the work. And like, look at it, so like labor, right?
Yeah.
So how do we make it a fun experience?
Yeah.
And not just like, oh, you're working, you know?
Yeah, this is fun. I think we chose the hardest path.
I know! Charles, what were you thinking? This is the worst
I was following you.
If you guys can, put your hands on the grass and on the soil and take a couple of deep breaths. And just remember our relationship to Gaia, to Mother Earth, the cacophony, the symphony of life.
By sheer coincidence, this event was happening in a park not far from where I grew up. But back then, it was just unused farmland. Now, it's a public garden. Maybe this is what I was missing as a kid, this connection to nature. Turns out, I wasn't alone. Deandra and Mario faced similar challenges when they were kids.
I was raised in a house of 3 different families, so it was my aunts and uncles, my family, and then my other pair of aunts and uncles. But there wasn't much like relationship with the outdoors as recreation, you know? And I remember the first time I got hurt surfing. I was surfing Malibu and got tumbled over the waves. My fin actually cut me in 2 different places on my arms.
Were you scared to call your mom?
Yeah, I was so scared. And my dad like just naturally got a little frustrated. He's like, well, why are you doing things you don't know how to do? And I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks, Dad. Like,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Anytime I do stuff like that, I can't tell my mom until after.
Yeah.
I don't know if you hear this a lot, but something we hear a lot is, well, so much of what prevents communities of color from like going outside is just like a fear of it, and it's like kind of hard to systemically address that. I'm like, I don't think that's true at all. Like, what is that fear rooted in? So when I think about my mom, for example, one of the first things she says is like, Mija, you're gonna have to go to the doctor, and like healthcare sucks, and like this and this and that. And I'm like, that is a systemic barrier. The fact that if you hurt yourself and you don't feel like you can fall back on certain systems the way that like other people might feel like they can, right? Yeah. If you hurt yourself, you need care and attention. Time, energy, resources, money, access to things that people feel like they might not have.
What Deandra and Mario were talking about was systemic barriers. How we understand systems, how we model them matters. This is something that CalDEC is working on here in California.
How do we interact with the natural world in a way that is sustainable, is truly sustainable, that the natural world will thrive for hundreds of years while we're living in it? So on the outside, we have the ecological ceiling. So this is the danger zone, right? Inside, we have the social foundation. And those are the things we need to have a thriving life. As long as everybody has enough here, and as long as we're not going over here, we're in the donut, which we call the safe and just place.
Donut Economics started as a book by Kate Raworth, and its framework has been adopted by local governments around the world. In Donut Economics, there are 2 rings. In the inner ring is basic human needs. No one should fall through. In the outer ring is planetary boundaries. None of us can afford to go outside them. And in between both circles is where the game is played, where we can make choices to promote human thriving on a thriving planet. It's part of a growing shift to rethink our assumptions about economics. For example, the assumption that humans make perfectly rational choices. This model human, called Homo economicus, is calculating, self-interested, and fictional. Real people don't always optimize. We're messy. We misjudge. We care about others. We're playful, like Homo ludens. And if you've ever met a human, we want more than just making money. What if we weren't just consumers, workers, or investors, but also caretakers, citizens, and stewards of the planet? In fact, Kate Raworth argues that we are all economists now, to which a fair response might be, do we have to be? But economics shapes every part of our lives, and so residents here are taking up her challenge.
But we've already started developing some groups that are going to be focusing on different aspects.
We're told, right, that tech companies are driving the GDP, but they represent maybe like 20 to 30% of $300 billion GDP economy that is San Jose. Just San Jose, which is crazy, right? Just all of Northern California is like 1.5 trillion. I think the state is trying to they actually want to listen. It's an interesting time.
A lot of people are afraid of what changing the economic system entails. Donut economics is agnostic about growth. What's your take on how people are going to react to donut economics?
I mean, I've presented donut economics in rural areas with farmers. I've brought it to business communities. Donut economics actually fits many different perspectives. The main thing that it antagonizes is this idea of infinite growth. In a medical condition, if you just say everything is growth, that's a tumor. But then for the GDP and for ecology and for resources, we're like growth, growth, growth. That's literally an illness. I think the hardest part is turning what we're doing into action. There's depressing news, systemic frustration, but like, that's the frustration I feel we need to get past. Because the thing is, what if that's on purpose? To keep us feeling like we'll never win. So for us to face this with any sort of resilience, we need to really activate the inner child, the play-based, problem-solving faculties that actually we've been given through the evolution of mankind.
One of my fears was that people would look at this episode and feel that we were trivializing climate change, trivializing the challenges that are coming and like some of the tragedies that are going to happen. How do you feel about it?
Oh, absolutely. I'm totally not trivializing. Actually, in fact, maybe this is how we need to face it. Is you can only play when your reptilian brain is relaxed. So, you know, your food, your shelter, your safety is taken care of, and then you activate the play. What play allows us to do is to imagine into the future, and that's where we invent. And so for us, it's not about trivializing, it's actually about creating the space within our heart and our bodies that we can actually show up physically and emotionally and maybe spiritually, I think, but we have to open up. Like you literally can't do the work if you're closed off. Like you guys just saw, the work was joyful, but we did hella work, you know? Look around at the trees, that's a lot of work.
So in the interest of working hard, we decided to have a little fun. For research, Mario took us surfing and brought along Leslie, one of Unmar's former students, who's now become our teacher.
Climate science can only take you so far. At the end of the day, you have to change behavior in these individuals. And what changes behavior is exposure to like different experiences. Without that first bit of like inspiration or warmth or joy that you might experience in catching a wave, that it's hard to sell the idea of like protecting this place to anyone, you know?
You're so right. Like academia can only take us so far, and clearly it has to be so much more. Beyond environmentalism just being studies, data, charts, it has to include our communities and the cultures that help us connect to the environments. It's really amazing to learn about all the behind-the-scenes struggles of grassroots organizing that people don't often see. Us having to navigate and juggle so many things, like how we're impact reporting, how we're proving that we can scale. How do you translate that into the digital storytelling space?
You're such a bright mind, and like you see things in a way that no one else in a room sees things, and I think that's just been so helpful for us.
So what is the meaning behind the name Unmar de Colores?
Yeah, Unmar de Colores means an ocean of colors, and what inspired me to name the organization that was that the ocean can be an array of different colors on any given day. Some days it's like bright purple and bright orange and bright red, right? Depending on like the sunset and the hue that it gives it. Or on cloudy days, you see it being gray, metallic blue, and things like that. So as the ocean reflects an array of different colors, I wanted the surf lineup to be that as well. So specifically start representing more Black, Indigenous people of color in the surf lineup.
There are things kids can only learn by being in nature and not by sitting in a classroom. In the surf line, the water's cold. The salt stings. You get pummeled by the waves. But then you get back up again. The waves are powerful. But so are you.
A lot of times, and in a lot of structures, youth can have their power like taken away from them. And this is a space that I want them to feel their power and like be able to like take that agency, take that power and translate it into like their real world.
Maybe that's the real problem with Homo economicus. It leaves out humanity. Homo ludens reminds us that humanity is a collective endeavor, shaped by our cultures, our creativity, and our choices.
I love kind of seeing where youth will take me on the adventure rather than like where I'm going to take them.
We have to decide what we're gonna do.
All right, players, we return to our darkly lit forest,
where you find yourselves engaged in combat against 2 eucalyptus trees.
I think we should probably just burn these trees. I'm gonna do a ray of frost.
Can someone give me a nature or survival check? Sorry. Okay, I got an 8.
Suddenly, the ground shakes beneath you, and a representative of the mycelium emerges.
The eucalyptus are not your enemy. Frank is. We must band together, for a time of great change is upon us. Are you with us?
Yes!
As you reach Frank, who is preparing to incinerate the entire forest, he turns and says,
"You are far too late. This forest is mind control and will make me rich beyond belief."
Frank cast Sickening Radius.
Oh!
Mars is down.
You will never defeat me!
Frank feeds his twisted ritual and continues to gather power.
Aries, it is your turn.
This is what I need, a natural 20.
Please. You can do this.
I got a 19.
That hits.
Frank is hurt badly.
Azalea, it is your turn. You can control flames, you can do damage to Frank.
Because there's still fire, so.
I'm gonna control flames, and then I'm gonna make the flames more low to the ground.
Perfect. So roll your d20.
Okay. 14.
14. Perfect.
The flames die down, leaving Frank open to attack. Neto, it's your turn. What would you like to do?
So I want to jump behind him, and I'm open to suggestions. Knock him out.
Roll your d20. All right. Frank Cravens is no more.
Play allows us to lean into failure in such a way that we can build anti-fragility.
There's always space to play, there's always reasons to play. You need to be able to like envision the world that you want to live in before you can actually build it.
What I see my niche is just getting specifically kids from BIPOC communities exposed to like the wonder and the joy of wave riding, of playing in nature, and then from there catalyzing climate resilience and climate protection.
Culture in and of itself is the only thing that can actually weave morality into the fabric of society.
Marcy, thank you for playing with us.
Thank you for playing with me. Roll initiative.
Climate change is a situation. One that's kind of all hands on deck. So, what role will you play? If you can't find one, make one. If you're not sure, game it out. And if you're worried, join the club. The stakes couldn't be higher, but the rewards couldn't be greater. We have to remember to play. Why? So we can fail. And when we fail, so we can win. Sometimes. But with any game, you can't win if you don't play. So let's play.